Hey guys, welcome back. We've covered quite a lot of material in the previous few videos. We've covered enzymes, homeostasis, how it all works, why stripping and sweating is good for you, and even some stuff on Snickers bars. Today we're going to look more specifically at the nervous system and its role in detecting and responding to environmental changes. Whilst we may not get to the Snickers bar stuff today, everyone should be able to outline the role of the nervous system in detecting and responding to environmental changes by the end of this video. Just a quick recap to start things off. Homeostasis consists of the stimulus, receptor, control center, effector, and the response that is carried out as a result. The stimulus and receptor are both involved in detecting change from the stable state, whilst the effector and response are involved in counteracting changes from the stable state. Let's move on to the main topic of the day, the nervous system, also known to some as the Telstra of the human body. Okay, that may not be strictly true, but bear with us with that analogy. The nervous system consists of a network of nerve cells that help the body communicate with one another. The nervous system consists of two parts. The first part is the central nervous system, and the second part is the peripheral nervous system. Whilst they are separate components, they are equally important in detecting and counteracting change. First up, let's have a look at the central nervous system. The brain is a big part of the central nervous system. It is a very important aspect in regards to homeostasis because it controls all the body functions. It sends and receives messages via the nerves around the body. Think of the brain as some sort of squishy control center when it comes to homeostasis. The spinal cord is also part of the central nervous system. It acts as the bridge, connecting the brain to all of the other parts around the body. Using our earlier Telstra analogy, the spinal cord is the phone line in your body that transmits information from the brain to the body and vice versa. Now, let's have a look at the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system consists of all the nerves around our body. Like telephone poles connecting every phone line to each other, the peripheral nervous system has complete contact from the body to the brain. Nerves are able to carry electrical messages to the brain. Nerves can also receive information from the brain and be told to carry out orders. Time for an update on what we've covered so far. The nervous system is made up of two parts, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system consists of the brain and spinal cord, whilst the peripheral nervous system is made up of all the nerves around our body. And Telstra is a surprisingly good analogy at explaining how all of this works. With all this groundwork covered, it's time to bring on the $100 question of the day. How exactly does the control nervous system and the peripheral nervous system link to homeostasis? Remember that 5-step homeostasis flowchart? The stimulus and the receptor are involved in detecting changes from the stable state, whilst the effector and response is about counteracting changes from the stable state. The receptors are a group of specialized cells that are able to detect the stimuli. This makes them part of the peripheral nervous system. The control center is the brain of the body and makes the decisions. Needless to say, the brain or control center is part of the central nervous system. The effectors are a muscle, gland, or organ in the body that is controlled by a nerve and carries out a response sent to them from the brain. This makes effectors part of the peripheral nervous system. There is one final part of the peripheral nervous system that we haven't really talked about yet, the communication system. Don't worry, this bit is really straightforward. The communication system is simply the body's way of using the peripheral nervous system to communicate from the receptor to the control center, and from the control center to the effector. To sum it all up, the peripheral nervous system comprises of the receptor, effector, and communication system, while the central nervous system comprises of just the brain or control center. The Telstra analogy won't really work here in explaining how this all works, so let's use something that's worked well previously, body temperature. The stimulus detects a change in the internal or external environment, such as hot weather or high body heat, and triggers a response. The receptors in our body, which are part of the peripheral nervous system, detects stimuli. In this example, thermoreceptors in our skin detects the increase in internal temperature. Next up is the brain or control center, which is part of the central nervous system. The brain receives the message from our thermoreceptors, and the hypothalamus part of the brain sends a response via the nerves to cool the body down. The effector, which is part of the peripheral nervous system, will receive the brain's message and carry out the body's response to stimuli. So when we talk about the body's behavioral response of removing extra clothing, the nerves around our body tell our muscles to move our arms and start taking off our clothes. This is also the same thing when we talk about the body's physiological response. The body's nerves activate our sweat glands. Sweating occurs and our body is cooled down. All this stripping and sweating is the result action from the effector, and it essentially allows the body to cool down and causes body temperature to drop. Lastly, the peripheral nervous system communicates the information from the receptor to the control center and the control center to the effector. If you may recall, this is called the communication system. And that is it. Dot point finished. Before we finish up, let's do a quick summary on today's video so that you'll remember everything we've talked about today. 1. The nervous system is the network of nerve cells that help the body communicate with one another. 2. The nervous system consists of two components, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system consists of the brain and spinal cord, whilst the peripheral nervous system consists of the nerves around your body. The nervous system's role is to detect change from the stable state and counteract changes from the stable state. Detecting changes from the stable state involves the stimulus and receptor, which is part of the peripheral nervous system. Counteracting changes from the stable state involves the effector, which is also part of the peripheral nervous system, and the response. The control center is the brain, which is part of the central nervous system. Lastly, the peripheral nervous system is responsible for communication all around the body, from the receptor to the control center and the control center to the effector. And that's it. Lesson finished for real this time.